They say summer nights are for freedom bonfires, laughter, warm breezes, under starry skies, but what if I told you that some of the scariest, most bone-chilling true stories don't happen in the dead of winter, but right in the heart of those golden nights, when the air is thick and still, and shadows stretch a little too long? That's when it begins. Tonight, we dive into terrifying real experiences that happened under the summer moon, stories that prove the dark doesn't care about the season, only that you're alone. It started like any other summer night, sticky, loud with cicadas, and filled with the kind of lazy heat that makes you feel half dreaming, even when you're wide awake. But the events that unfolded during those humid hours have haunted me and others to this very day, each tale echoing across fire pits, porch swings, and silent drives home from campgrounds where the shadows never quite leave. The first of us to feel it was Hannah, a college student working as a night manager at a lakeside resort in upstate New York, where the only guests one evening were a man and his silent daughter who never blinked. And while Hannah tried to brush off her unease, it became impossible when she woke up at 2:47 a.m. to see the little girl standing outside her window on the second floor, whispering to someone below, though no one was there. Then there's Jesse, who was camping with his friends deep in the Appalachians, where a misstep led to a narrow ravine they hadn't seen before, and a strange, Antiqua-looking swing hanging from a tree over the edge with fresh footprints in the dirt, and no trails leading in or out. And when they came back with their phones to take pictures, the swing was gone, and so was one of their group, leaving behind only a tent that looked like it had been slashed from the inside out. Meanwhile, 12-year-old twins Kayla and Brooke were staying at their grandparents' farmhouse in rural Texas when they heard a knock at their window around midnight. A knock that came from someone wearing a bunny mask and asking if the real girls were home, because the copy girls were supposed to stay asleep forever. And when their grandpa reviewed the footage from the outdoor cameras the next day, the file was completely wiped between 11:59 p.m. and 1:03 a.m. The same span of time. They remember hiding under the bed and listening to scratching on the walls, like something with nails was trying to get in. And then there's Mateo, who had taken a summer job as a lifeguard at a private country club in California and swore he saw someone standing at the bottom of the pool every night. Around 3 a.m., someone who looked exactly like him, but with eyes wide open and a smile too big to be human. And when he told his manager, the man said, "You've seen him too, huh?" before quitting the next day and leaving Mateo a note that simply read, "Don't look into your own reflection." Underwater it knows. Even more disturbing is the story of Chloe, who went on a weekend getaway to a secluded Airbnb cabin with her two best friends. But on the second night, their voices stopped matching their lips, like the sound and picture weren't syncing up. And when Chloe asked what was going on, her friends both froze and then began laughing in perfect unison before turning off the power, locking the doors, and whispering through the cracks that she should have never come here without being invited by the land. And the only way Chloe escaped was by setting the place on fire and running barefoot through the woods until a passing trucker picked her up, crying and bleeding, mumbling something about voice parasites. Then there's the tale of Andre, a solo hiker who pitched a tent in the Rockies and kept hearing someone pacing just outside his tent flap, night after night, despite no footprints, no scent, no movement during daylight. And when he finally zipped the flap open mid-step, he found a pair of perfectly polished black shoes facing him from 3 feet away, and a voice that sounded like his mother's telling him to lie down and sleep because the mountain had made a deal for his Minden. Don't forget about Leela and Ryan, newlyweds who went for a stargazing trip on a quiet hill in North Dakota, where a single dead tree stood like a broken finger, and where Ryan began murmuring numbers in his sleep that didn't make sense. Until Leela realized they were GPS coordinates that led to the exact same hill they were already on. And when she followed the path he carved out in his notebook, she found a mound of dirt, freshly disturbed, with a broken phone playing a voicemail from her future self, warning her not to dig. And we can't ignore Marcus, a night shift worker at an ice cream stand who kept getting tips from a pale woman with cold hands and a wide-brimmed hat, even when the shop was closed. And each time she left, the security footage glitched, and someone else on staff would quit without giving a reason, until Marcus followed her one night only to find her disappearing into a mist that smelled like sulfur and peppermint, with a signpost behind her reading route back something that doesn't exist on any map. Or Zoe, a teenage babysitter who heard the toddler she was watching cry in the monitor, even though he was asleep in her arms. And when she looked at the screen, the baby in the crib waved at her and said tell her to stop pretending, before vanishing from the monitor entirely. And for the rest of the night, she kept hearing lullabies from behind the closet door, and a second voice mimicking the baby's every coo and scream with just a half-second delay. And how could anyone forget the harrowing night Mia, a camp counselor in Vermont, went looking for two missing campers and found them holding hands with a third child who shouldn't have been their own, with no shoes, blank eyes, and skin that reflected no flashlight beam, who looked at her and asked if she remembered burying him by the creek in 1994, even though she hadn't been born yet. And after she got back to the lodge, the camp photo on the wall showed 3 kids she didn't recognize smiling from the back row, their faces blurry except for the exact shirt she was wearing now, as if she'd always been one of them. And these stories, real as the voices that crackle in the woods after midnight, continue to pour in every summer, passed down by those who carry with them the unshakable feeling that something lingers out there during the hottest months of the year, something that watches, waits, and whispers when the world thinks it's safe under the stars. Something that doesn't care if you believe or not, because it doesn't need your fear to find you. It just needs a summer night and a moment where you let your guard down, where your screen goes dark, your friends go quiet, or the fire burns a little lower than it should, and that's when it moves. Because these very scary true summer night horror stories don't come from movies. They come from the mouths of people who serve a vet burial. Sometimes they still wake up sweating not because of the heat, but because they remembered the exact moment when they realized they weren't alone, and they never had been. If this story gave you chills, or made you think twice about stepping outside tonight, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more true horror tales that will keep you up at night. Share this video with your bravest friends and maybe even your not-so-brave ones. And if you've ever had a terrifying experience on a summer night, drop it in the comments below. You never know, your story might be featured in the next video. Stay safe, sleep tight, and remember not everything disappears when the sun comes up.